I got a job in radio. I had had a job, a sort of a job in radio at KUOM, the old University of Minnesota AM station, and before that I had done the news on WMMR, which was the student closed circuit station at the University of Minnesota. I did a noontime newscast. I worked hard on it. I edited it from the AP Newswire and sat in a little studio with green acoustic tile and a green felt-covered table, and I read the news every day, Monday through Saturday at 12 noon, just like Cedric Adams did on WCCO. The engineers were busy that year, my freshman year at the university, building a state-of-the-art control room. And when they got done building it, they went out to do maintenance on the transmitters. This was a closed-circuit operation that broadcast through little transmitters that were in the basements of Comstock, Pioneer, Centennial, and Sanford, and all of the other dormitories at the university. And when they went around, they saw that whoever had done maintenance on the transmitters the year before had turned them all off, and so they had not been on. I had been delivering a beautiful newscast to myself and one other person, which didn't discourage me. I thought I really had the hang of it, and so I went over to KUOM and then up to Collegeville, to Minnesota Public Radio, which was started at St. John's, and where Mr. William H. Kling, who was hardly older than I, interviewed me for a job. It was my last job interview, and that was in 1970. 69. Let's get these things right. There was no audition. He didn't ask for references. He just wanted to make sure in his own mind that I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I would drive to the studios and turn on the transmitter and do the early morning shift, which started at 5 a.m. and ran until noon. I would do 7 hours on the air playing classical music and doing the news. That's all. Well, I convinced him that I would do that, even though I had a big beard and I had sort of longish hair, and I was wearing a leather vest with fringe and sandals, because I was still trying to be that brilliant, troubled poet, you see. Nonetheless, he accepted that I would do that, and I did. I did. This was in the fall, and I did this for how many years? I did it for 3 years up there in Collegeville. I drove all the way from St. Cloud into the studios. The landscape of Stearns County in February at 4:30 in the morning. It's like the dark side of the moon. And I got in there and I turned on the transmitter and I took the transmitter readings and I put the Star-Spangled Banner on the big vinyl disc and I did a show and realized at 5 o'clock in the morning that a dark, tragic sensibility is not a useful thing. Your listeners have their own dark, tragic sensibility, and they don't need yours. What they need is a cheerful person, somebody who will say, get up, let's go. Today is a gift It may look dark to you now, but there are surprises out here. Seize the day. Let's make the most of it, people, and play music that'll get them going, and play a movement of the Bach Brandenburg No. 3 that segues into the Beach Boys' Fun, 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 that gets people up and gets them moving and gets the blood coursing in their veins. I had to be cheerful, which I was not. I was not a cheerful person. I felt that this was beneath me, and I felt that I was wasting my life and that I should be doing something else. But I needed to be cheerful. And so I had to create a new persona for myself. And in order to give me a plausible excuse to be cheerful, I invented a whole series of products, though this was non-commercial radio. I invented powder milk biscuits that are made from whole wheat that give shy persons the strength to get up and do what needs to be done, including getting out of bed. I invented Raoul's warm car service. I invented Jack's Auto Repair. All tracks lead to Jack's, where the bright flashing lights show you the way to complete satisfaction. I invented Bebop Rebop rhubarb pie and rhubarb pie filling. Rhubarb, the secret of the good life as we know it. I invented all of these sponsors, and then I needed a town to put them in, and I invented Lake Wobegon, which comes from the Ojibwe word that means the place where we waited 3 days for you in the rain. And then I invented people who lived in this town, and slowly, inch by inch, this all came along. The women were strong, and the men good-looking, and the children all above average. And early in the morning, out of weariness and despair, trying not to sound as bad as I felt, I invented what came to be sort of my magnum opus, this little town where I would go on week after week after week for now 40 years, making up these stories about people who actually are my parents and who are my parents' siblings, and some people I grew up among in Anoka, Minnesota, and some people I met later, but mostly my parents' generation. I have been creating through Lake Wobegon the world of my parents, which was a world of cheerful people.